free afternoon, so friends and I decided we wanted to go see a nearby landmark. We were in an area of the country we weren't familiar with, and we kept seeing signs about road closures that seemed to indicate that there was no way to go forward, but somewhat impulsively, we just kept driving forward anyway, sure that there was going to be another way to get to our destination. Well, as it turns out, the signs weren't lying, and more than an hour into the drive, we came across this cataclysmic disaster. The road was completely washed away with no passing possible. We ended up having to turn around, backtrack for hours, and we even missed the window of opportunity to even go to our destination. We didn't interpret the signs correctly, signs that indicated we were on our way to a disaster. When it comes to our relationships at work, I think many of us can find ourselves in a scenario like my failed road trip. We're on a journey together with our teammates, our employees, our managers, and we can fail to read the signs from each other when there's a problem ahead. I have some good news and bad news when it comes to the typical workplace. The good news, there's a lot of happiness at work. A recent study of American workers shows that 85% of respondents are either somewhat or very happy with their job, and feeling like their job is meaningful was the most important indicator of happiness. But the not so good news is that another study shows that 83% of workers suffer from work-related stress, and the main source of that stress for 80% of those workers is poor communication. If this is any indicator of how it's going at your workplace, then the main source of stress between your teammates is the way that everyone learns how to engage with one another for the good of the whole. And when it comes to workplace satisfaction, it's not money or advancement that drives people, it's appreciation. Healthy communication and appreciation are the single most important factors for workplace satisfaction and happiness. And the stakes are raised for managers. 58% of people in a recent survey said they trust strangers more than they trust their boss. So what do we do with all this information? Let's recap what the stats invite us to consider about our workplaces. First, people want to be happy in their jobs. Second, communication is the main stressor at work. Third, mistrust and lack of appreciation are the main drivers of workplace dissatisfaction and leaving jobs. It's pretty clear that as leaders, learning to communicate well and build trust intentionally are key components to a great working environment. But most of us struggle to do this. Like my doomed road trip, we fail to read the signs that indicate we might be approaching a conflict, or even worse, a full-on breach of trust in our team relationships. But it doesn't have to be that way. With a new perspective and some new tools, you can engage with yourself and your coworkers with integrity. You can read the signs differently, even in long-held patterns or ways of thinking that have kept you repeating the same problems over and over again. And you may start experiencing each other in ways that feel nothing short of a miracle. Miracle moments happen when we connect our emotions, words, and actions and course correct to a better outcome. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to grow. We all know the feeling of missing the mark, whether it's something we've done or something that's been done to us. The moment or the grade or the response isn't what you wanted. You feel that hot wave of anger or shame or embarrassment, and everything in you is just screaming to shut down or blame or turn all that disappointment outward. In that moment, our body tenses up, our mind begins to race, and our emotions shut us down, or our words blow up, or our hearts are overwhelmed with insecurity or fear or anger about how misunderstood we feel. Your response is a complicated mix of your past baggage and your present beliefs, and that response feels automatic, somewhat out of your control. Well, now you're faced with a choice. Will you allow that moment of frustration or even failure to become an opportunity for growth? Moments like this present that choice. We can perpetuate the same pattern we've been living in, letting the hurt win, or we can move toward a miracle moment. Each of us fights a battle for expression. We are trying to communicate between each other, but we're also trying to communicate with ourselves, to interpret our feelings, to say what we mean, and to do what we say. When we align our emotions, thoughts, and actions, we experience integration, the same root as the word for integrity. Integrity is about that alignment, and it always starts with changing ourselves. There are 5 prerequisites to the work ahead. The first is this: nice is bad. Nice isn't helping you or anyone else. It might be protecting you, it might feel good at times, it might be polite, but polite doesn't work with connection. In love, in work, in life, real relationships require vulnerability, good fights, and a much more powerful kind of love than nice. The second, chaos before order. When change is needed, We have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. The third, curious, not condemning. Nothing shuts down our growth faster than self-condemnation. Throughout this whole experience, we will practice being curious about the moments that create reactions and begin to actually change our approach as we move forward. The fourth, small is big. True change comes through small, consistent, incremental steps. And the fifth, hope is necessary. Hope is linked to a fundamental belief that change is possible. Miracle moments start with you, but changing ourselves is not for the faint of heart. It requires us to stop playing nice and actually get honest with ourselves. It's about becoming curious about our actions and reactions to certain people and situations in a way that leads us to learn and grow, not distance or divide. It requires some deconstruction of the way we've always done things so we can build new skills that create connection after conflict. And it's sharing a hope that small changes can make a big difference. As a start, I want to invite you to start noticing your own signposts and detours that can lead you toward or away from miracle moments all around you. With a learner's mindset, we will then engage in the three qualities of miracle moments: learning to mean what we feel, say what we mean, and do what we say. In session 2, we'll talk about what it means to mean what you feel. Self-awareness is about discovering your emotions and thoughts working together, and how you can learn to recognize and respond appropriately to your emotions. In session 3, we'll talk about self-expression. We'll break down the mechanics of how to engage in a conflict, move toward reconciliation and compromise, and create plans that build trust. And finally, in session 4, we'll talk about self-respect, how to line up your words with your actions, how to rebuild trust after it's been breached, and how to live with integrity, even when you feel as if you failed. Albert Einstein once said, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." So, are you ready for a miracle?